Welcome to another episode of Mind Movers. I'm looking at this absolute queen in front of me. Amber is an amazing human being. Okay, so I want to talk about the fact that I first met her through Dr. Esho, actually. No, it wasn't Dr. Esho, it was Leonie, but you had been going to Dr. Esho anyways back in the day.
Yeah.
And I had met her because I'd love to get my hands on her teeth. We did a smile makeover and look at her beaming. And then we ended up becoming friends. And I'm just so honoured to have her in my life because she is one of the most special human beings.
So nice.
I know. It's true.
You.
It's true. And I think one of the most real and authentic people that I've ever had the pleasure of meeting. You often meet people, they say like never meet your hero because it's such a disappointment. But Amber is like, what you see is what you get. She's real, she's authentic, and it's been such a pleasure to get to know you.
You're making us want to cry.
Yeah, sorry. This
You're
is like emotional.
making us want to cry.
But, honestly, I mean it. And I think one of the most important things that happened in my life for me was that she trusted me with her mum, actually. And for me, that's such a privilege to treat someone's family member. And her mum had been having Invisalign for 8 years. Can you deal? 6 years, something crazy. And still wasn't happy, and obviously we ended up doing some treatment, so that was really great. So that's how I met Amber. So most of you will know Amber from the TV program Love Island, but she is so much more than that program, and I think that I'm really proud to have been watching her journey because Amber can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think one of the most difficult things about coming out of a reality TV program is to have a persona and identity outside of that program. And that takes a lot of courage and some kind of reinvention in a way. And I feel like you've done a really good job because people have bought into you as a human being, not as somebody that was just in a reality TV show. So welcome, Amber.
Thank you. That was the best intro I've ever had.
Really?
Yeah.
I love
great.
that. I'm going to take note of that. Okay, so I want to start a little bit from the beginning because I love to know the person that you were as a child, a teenager, etc. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your background, where you grew up?
Yes. So I grew up in Newcastle. Have you ever been to Newcastle?
Yeah, lots of times.
It's just a small city.
I love the way you single him out.
Yeah, no. I'm I just don't know. Have you ever been? So yeah.
Lots of times.
Yeah, it's nice, all right? It's all right, yeah. But it's a very, it's a much smaller city than London. It's a predominantly white area as well.
Oh, really?
And yeah, I grew up with my mum and dad together, and my brother lived with us for a period of time as well. And that was my life. And I was a very sure of myself child, and especially in the teenage years, I had strong opinions, I had a certain personality, and I was not changing for anyone ever. I just was very... And I don't know where it come from because neither of my parents are really like that.
Really?
And I wasn't really around anyone like that. So I don't know where I adopted this mentality where I was very sure of myself and I would say things that probably other people wouldn't. But yeah.
So let me ask you something as well. Obviously Newcastle is very different to London. Certainly when I was growing up, I know I'm older than you, but when I was growing up, it was difficult actually being from a Middle Eastern background at school, for example, that was, very white. Did you ever experience any kind of race issues, because, your parents, obviously you come from mixed race background?
It's easy to say looking back now, I did, but at the time I don't think I realised because, being mixed race and being of a lighter skin tone as well, it makes me blend in a little bit easier. People would not look at me as a massive target because I've just got a bit of a tan rather than being completely darker. So I do think that I had a privilege in that sense to sort of blend in, and with having one white parent I could kind of understand the way that would go on in Newcastle, the way that things are meant to be. But upon reflection, there was definitely microaggressions. I wouldn't say full on bad things, but just microaggressions, getting the right results but still being put in a bottom set, being looked at as naughty all the time regardless, sort of being singled out in certain ways. That was all definitely happening. But I think because I had the personality that I had, I come to understand that it was just that, and I didn't really think of that. I didn't really think it was to do with my background at all because I didn't know anyone else really. So it's just my experience on my own.
What did you feel that like you identified with more as being? Because growing up, I tried very hard to be like white English, but then when I grew older, I was like, I'm very Middle Eastern, and I identify with being Lebanese, and I identify with being Egyptian.
Yeah.
Whereas like when I was in my teens and 20s, I was like, I don't identify with being Middle Eastern, I identify with being as like an English person, and I never was. Do you see what I mean? So what do you feel like coming from the background that you did that you identified more with?
I think naturally I identified more as white when I was younger, but definitely more into like teenage years. I think because Caribbean mentality is very similar to my personality.
Yeah.
So I kind of was like, okay, I understand. I'm like this because where I come from, people are exactly the same. You know, they're very direct. They're not bothered if, you know, they hurt your feelings. They'd rather tell you the truth and be honest. And that's very Caribbean. And so, yeah, I felt really connected to that. But it's funny, you know, I got a comment on TikTok because I said something about being from Trinidad and Tobago because that's part of my heritage. And someone was like, what, you think that you're not this way just because your grandma was born there? So they think that I shouldn't identify as, you know, Caribbean or think or be proud of being from Trinidad and Tobago because my grandma's from there. And I find that really interesting because like I was brought up in a Caribbean household and I had my Caribbean family, like I was very close to them.
Yeah.
So why would I not also identify with that side of my family? Like, very strange. But that was just yesterday as well. I was like, oh, that's a funny comment.
I think that people on social media just have such like strong opinions, and I think that they're always like going to try and say something, especially on TikTok, as you said, because you say something like, I like the colour pink, and people are like, why are you discriminating against blue?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because then people are very difficult when it comes to that.
I mean, you can't bother yourself with comments on social.
No,
and I don't, but I just thought that like
that particular comment.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting. It's not that it got to us, but I do think that it's a mentality a lot of people have. So because I've got a British passport, nationality is British, I was brought up in Newcastle, therefore I'm not Caribbean at all.
I understand.
Do you know what I mean?
I hear what you're saying.
The opposite is the problem, where people think you're not British at all because there's something in you that isn't British.
Right. But I do think it depends on the person.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people have that problem, but my problem is actually the opposite.
Yeah.
It's very much the opposite.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
I think that that's like a really valid thing, right? Because I think particularly in London, and I guess like Britain as a whole, we're lucky because there's so many different cultures, and like lots of us will hold a British passport. But look at us, like three in a room. You're Iranian, have a British passport. You come from Trinidad, Tobago, and you've got a British passport. I'm Lebanese, Egyptian, got a British passport. Do you see what I mean? You know, and then there is a little bit of like an identity crisis because you're like, I don't feel English, but I feel British. Do you see what I mean? And so like, I think, you know, that's always going to be an interesting conversation. Okay, so you were always a confident, loud, like assertive child. And what was your relationship like with your parents and your brother?
Really nice. Like I had a nice
childhood.
Yeah, it was nice. I mean, yeah, there's problems, but that's for another time and another
conversation.
Yeah, that's with my therapist. We'll talk about that. But yeah, no, I got on with my brother really well. We both went to the same high school. And I was having a fun time.
And when you reached like teenagehood, was that when you recognised that you wanted to do something within the public space and, you know, become... No, not at all. So talk us through that.
Yeah, I'm not I would never like sort of act. Well, no, you never say never about things. Yeah. Maybe in a couple of years I might want to act, but I was never quite like, although I had a strong personality, I did have aspects of like not wanting to be the centre of attention. I didn't like that. My family is very much like that. They're very musical theatre, want to perform on stage. And I just wasn't really like that. I always had the like thought in my head that I would probably be in the public eye or I would do something like that, but I didn't know what. I just felt it.
Yeah, I
just felt like that. But I was like, I don't think that I would get on the stage and sing a song for everyone. It doesn't feel like my kind of thing. But I thought, well, I feel like I'm built for something, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
So what was the first thing that you did in the public eye? Was it Love Island?
The first thing ever, yeah. So I kind of, It was.
So take us through how they found you for that or how you were approached.
Honestly, I don't know how the found is, but it was never really something that I had my eye on. It was never something that I thought.
You didn't apply for it?
No, I never thought I want to be on that show because, to be honest, if you watch the show, I'm not very good at dating. I'm not that friendly with dating. I don't want to kiss 25 people in a row. That's what happens on the show. I don't want to share a bed with someone I don't know. I'm very like the opposite of what you have to do on the show. So I never really had my eye on it. But at 21, I was a beauty therapist, and I had been doing it for a couple of years with my auntie.
Did you like it?
I loved it. I love my clients. I love doing facials. You know, I love my skincare and all that kind of stuff. So it was totally my forte. But super, super long hours. And there's like a cap on how much money you can make as well, because it's just you. And scaling at 20, I don't know how to scale a business. I don't know how to add someone in, and it was too much. So it got to like a stagnant point where I was like, I kind of want to do something different, but I don't know what I want to do. Love my clients, don't ever want to leave my clients. I'm not going to do that. One day I get a Insta DM from an ITV2 account being like, we have a brand new show on in the summer. It's for singles, certain age range. If you're interested, give us a message back. And I showed it to my auntie, and I was like, maybe this is the thing that's gonna like stop the like, because we're both in sort of a rut. I was like, maybe this is the thing. I'll just answer the DM and go from there. It probably won't turn into anything, but let's just see. Replied to the DM, done a whole load of auditions, got sent down to London, did an introduction with like the execs, medical stuff, and then it was like, you're on the show.
Oh.
Crazy.
Did you have a huge social media account?
No. Not
even that?
No. So I mean,
back then, because she's one of the originals, it wasn't about your following. Like nowadays, they might pick someone with a big following, but not then.
No, I don't think they would pick.
But how did they find her?
I don't know.
It's a
no
myth.
one knows.
It's a myth. Nobody knows. I should ask them that.
How many followers did you have at the time?
4,000, right? And I know that sounds like a lot, but
it's not a lot nowadays.
It's not a lot now, but it sounds like a lot for a random 21-year-old to have in Newcastle. But I worked in nightclubs, so I was meeting new people all the time. I was working all the time. I was a face. So if you were going out, you know that you would see me. So like I was followed because I was well known within Newcastle, not because people cared about what I thought or anything. To be honest, it's because people knew me. So I have no idea. But I might ask them because it's quite interesting to know how.
What's the most common question people ask you about Love Island?
Oh, I couldn't even tell you a common question because I've been asked every question 5 million times.
What do people really want to know? Like,
people want to know what it's really like, if it's scripted, how did I get on it, what do you eat? People want to know what time do you wake up, what time do you go to bed. Yeah.
But everyone wants to know everything. They're so invested.
I don't have a common question.
But I want to ask you something. In the process of doing it, were you happy? In the process? In the villa, were you actually happy? Were you waking up every day and being like, I'm enjoying this experience?
Yes and no. Yes and no.
Why?
Because did you watch my season or not?
Do you know, I don't think I think I watched like snippets of it, and I remember watching like the kind of like end when you were like winning.
Yeah.
But for me, it was always a show I had in the background. Like I was never invested.
Yeah.
And like I say this with the utmost respect and love because I know you. But for me, it was very much a platform where people wanted to become famous. So like I knew of it when like Amber, other Amber, I forgot her surname now, was in it, and also like she became a patient, and she's also super lovely as well.
Yeah.
And that was like when she won it with Kem, for example. And then like I watched bits here and there, but I think what I struggled with was that people were going on it to just become famous, like in the kind of like more recent series. And I'd met a lot of people off the show because they obviously tried to get their teeth done, which I actually didn't connect with. There was something in my gut that was like, I don't know if I trust. And then like you two, I've been like seeing for years, which just shows like the authenticity that I've been like, I treated you guys. And I've been your dentist for like 5 years or more. Do you see what I mean? So that shows that you've actually got a proper connection.
You do my mum, which was like the main thing.
But that was the thing. And I think that for me, it was always a bit of a background show. So I was never fully invested.
It is for some people, but
loads of people are invested.
I'll not bore you with the journey because I was in there. I was the first person to walk in and the last person to walk out. So that's 2 months long in some random villa in Spain. And so it's a long time and a lot of things happen. Obviously, it's a reality TV show. A lot of things happen. So I'd say I was quite fun 21-year-old. Oh, getting paid to sit in the sun. I mean,
so they pay you for it?
It was like not that much. Do you know what? I am actually not sure. Other people said they got paid. I don't know if they actually paid me. I was just happy to be there, to be honest. I was like, fine. No, I think it was like £200 a week maybe, but I don't know if I got that. But obviously I won the prize money at the end, so I wasn't bothered with £200 a week.
Yeah.
I got 25 grand at the end. So anyways,
25 grand, yeah.
Yeah, it's 25, split between two, but we'll get into that. So I was the first one in, the last one out for 2 months, and a lot of things happened. So very fun, 21-year-old, absolutely loved it when I first went in. Didn't really find a connection with anyone, because who does in one day? Apparently everybody that goes on the event, apart from me. Wasn't into anyone. Still having a fun time because I made friends, and it's fun. All you have to do is wake up, put a bikini on, have a couple of chats, have a shower, get into a nice clothes, put your makeup on, have another couple of chats, go to bed, get up and do the same thing. That
You're
sounds
not allowed
great
to leave though, right?
No, you're not allowed to leave. You're not allowed to leave. But
So did you get homesick?
no, I'm not the type of person that gets homesick, to be honest. If I'm in the sun and I'm in a bikini,
I don't
I
get
just
homesick
forget.
either.
I forget. I'm like, what?
Yeah, yeah.
Home?
Yeah.
This is home right now. I'm fine. So yeah, but there was moments. There was definitely like a pivotal moment where somebody was just not that nice to us, and I got really upset. And then from that point, I wanted to leave. Every day I woke up, I wanted to go. I told them every day, I'm leaving. I'm going. No, you're not keeping us here. I don't want to be here anymore. Like, that guy's making me out to be some kind of just... Can you swear? Or not? Can you swear?
Yeah, swear all you want.
Okay.
Yeah, we say fuck it all the time.
Yeah, he's making me out to be some kind of dickhead, and I can't be arsed with it anymore. I can't do it. And they were like, no, just persevere. Like, you'll be fine. More people are coming in. You've got more fun things that'll come in and whatever. And I just sat tight and I was like, not really happy, but I'll crack on. And I'm glad I did, because I won the show. So it was good that I just persevered. But I wasn't like, I wouldn't say I was like, it wasn't that bad how I was feeling. I was just a bit like, what's the point in us being here? Everything's very coupley and I'm single. So what's the point? I'm just sat like a spare part. So it's not fun.
But do you think the public voted you to win because you showed that resilience and strength? And then obviously they brought in someone last minute. I kind of vaguely remember. And but he literally disappeared off the planet, no?
Well, God knows, I don't know. Yeah, well, he has for me, yeah.
Yeah, but as in, like, but I think he literally was one of those strange people that came onto Love Island. And as I said, like, most people want it because they get the, like, publicity. But, like, he went on it and then, like, no one heard from him, like, ever again.
But I do think that was partly because he won with me and was split up, and it was just a bit of a funny situation. I think if it didn't pan out that way, he wouldn't have done that. He would have probably...
he was sticking his head in the sand.
Yeah, because it just ended up being messy.
What were the emotions coming out? So suddenly in Newcastle, you were completely famous, right? Did you go back to Newcastle?
In Newcastle, I was famous across the whole of the everywhere.
Yeah, but did you go back to Newcastle?
No, I had no time to go back to Newcastle.
Oh, really?
I flew back to London. I stayed in London for 3 weeks. I had, what's it called? Close security.
Oh, really?
Everywhere. Like, I would go to Westfield. I'd start buying shoes. I'd turn around. There's a crowd of people outside being like, we want to take a photo with you. And my security was like, we can't, like, we're going to have to come out early in the morning or late at night, like, because it's too much. You come into places on your own. How crazy is that? So I was like...
So how long did it take? Did you pretty soon start hating that fact? Or?
Yes, I hated it.
Yeah, I was going to say, did you love it or hate it?
Oh, no, I hated it. Because it's just too... I think... You know, if you're an actor or you're an artist or you're anything, you sort of build an audience and you can see the direction that it's heading in. So you can see, okay, I've got 100,000 followers and then next week I've got 200,000 followers. So I know that I'm getting bigger and I can prepare. Whereas I went in with 4,000 and came out with 2 million.
Wow, that's insane.
Like, yeah. So you just can't wrap your head around it. And also with that, when you have like a thing that you do, like a niche that you do. So I sing and I do this, and this is why I've got followers. I didn't know why I had followers. I was like, what do I post? What do people want to see from me? I don't know why you're following me because I don't post anything yet. So what the hell do I even put on?
Did you immediately do the thing that people do where you went straight to like the comments and stuff? So you came like not having had a phone and then you got on phone. Were you like curious what people were saying about you online as like a first reaction?
Yeah, 100%.
How did that affect you?
It was great because everyone loved us.
Yeah, that's true. I love it. It's so good.
That's why you won.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone loved us.
But were there any negative comments?
I mean, yeah, there was negative comments.
Did it affect you or not?
Not at that time because it was overwhelmingly positive. Like overwhelmingly.
Yeah.
You know, if you win the show, everyone's like, yeah, you showed people to like, you know, be strong no matter whether someone's, you know, being a dick to you. Like, you showed girls not to put up with shit. You're amazing. You've got a strong personality. You're very straight. You're a good friend. Da da da. So my head was massive. I was like, the best person in the world.
Yeah, I love that.
And how long did it take before people stopped hounding you and bothering you, or recognise you, or do they still? Like,
they still do now. It's not as crazy now.
Yeah.
It's more manageable now. So I'm in a happier place.
If you walk down the street in Camden Town now, a couple of people will say hi.
Yeah, probably.
Really?
Yeah.
Of course, you've got, I mean, look, I've got a friend of mine, she's an influencer and she's got 3 million followers and she's not on TV, but like we went to Lesvos, which is a refugee camp. I took her to a refugee camp that I work in.
Yeah.
Every year I go and do dental work. Imagine there was someone in this little Greek town where this refugee camp is, they recognised her. Imagine.
Who is she?
Chrissy Chella, my friend.
Oh yeah, the
fitness influencer. But imagine, like, they were like, Chrissy, I do your workouts. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. That's in Lesvos, you know? So I can't, obviously that doesn't surprise me that people would know who Amber is. Okay, so obviously I'm going to, you know, classically ask you, because the thing, like, Love Island developed a really bad reputation for not supporting people through their mental health.
Yeah.
You know, people took their life after the show. So at that time when you were doing it, did they provide you with mental health support?
Yeah, they did. I think it got to the point where it was like an actual, like, they had to actually do something.
So what happened?
So I believe it was 14 weeks of therapy after the show.
And that's compulsory for everyone, or if you win?
No, everyone.
Okay.
For everyone, yeah. I think I did 12 weeks of it, but I didn't really find it that beneficial. It wasn't until later on that I do therapy. I've been doing therapy for 2 years straight now. But it wasn't really beneficial for me at the time because I didn't really get it. It's not really a thing in Newcastle. It probably is now, but at the time it wasn't. Like, oh, I've got a therapist. Well, what the fuck? Like,
yeah, what's wrong with you?
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, what's going on? And I didn't realise that you have to find, the most important thing about therapy is you have to find the right fit. You have to find the right fit for you.
The right person.
So the right therapist. You've got to find the right fit because, you know, I had a white therapist that was given to me from Love Island, and she was fine, but she was just fine, and I don't want fine. I want it to be a proper thing, yeah. Whereas now I have a Black Caribbean woman, and some things that I talk about, she just can relate to, and she can understand why I would have a certain mentality or certain thought process on things. So it's just about the fit, because now I feel like I could go to her and say whatever the hell I want. Whereas I feel like with the one that was provided via Love Island, I felt like I was performing. And she just kept going, God, you're doing really well. I can't believe you're only 22 and you do. And I was like, yeah, I'm great. I'm great. And I used to walk out and think, what the fuck was the point in that?
Yeah.
I can sit anywhere and go, I feel good.
Tell us like the very lowest point and the very highest points.
But before,
like, what is it? What happens when you come out? And
before Amber goes on to that, I want to make a comment about the therapist, because I think that's a really important point. I also, like, when I recognised that I had mental health issues, was quite early on in my life, and I basically got, like, recommended therapists, be like, go and see this person through, like, health insurance, and then I was like, I had, as you said, a very okay experience, and I thought this is just it and this is what happens. And like you said, sometimes I used to go and sit in the room and just try to, like, fill the spaces by just, like, talking, and they'd be like, oh, you're, like, doing great, you're fine, etc. And I used to not enjoy the sessions, not want to turn up, but I thought that's just the way that it is. Then when I found my recent therapist, who I've been with for like 3 years, and like, it's such a huge difference. Like, she's life-changing. I've even had her on the podcast. And it makes such a difference because, and it's like, I think, like, just don't force the shoe to fit. And I even say that with like dentists and doctors. Like, if you go in your initial consultation or something is like, I don't feel this is right, like, just go with it. Don't stick at it. You know, this is not a relationship. You don't have to kind of like work through it. Like, there are people. And I think importantly, what you said is that because you had a therapist that understood your heritage, like, we're understanding more that, like, people of certain cultures and backgrounds have also got, like, epigenetic trauma instilled in them, you know, like, when you look at our ancestors, and we actually carry that in our DNA, and people didn't know that. So like you said, like, your realities and your traumas are inherently within your body that, like, I couldn't necessarily understand, or pain men, and vice versa.
Do you trust your instincts?
Well, we had this conversation before.
So I think I do, and it was really interesting because the other day I was watching this video, and I don't know if you've seen it, I'll show you it later, and it's a guy, and he's talking about how easy we're manipulated. And he's got 2 dots on the screen. He's got a red dot and he's got a blue dot. And he says, okay, you think that these are equal. They're actually not equal. So put your hand up if you think the red is bigger. Put your hand up if you think the blue is bigger. And like 90% of the people put their hand up. And he's like, well, actually, they're equal. But because I made you choose something, you're so easily manipulated to choose which one you think is bigger. And whilst I was watching that video, I was thinking, neither of them are bigger. I think they're equal.
Yeah.
I think they're equal.
Yeah.
I still, like, regardless, he's making us choose. I'm like, I'm not choosing. So I'm like, ooh, I do trust my instinct to a degree. But I think it's dipped in and out throughout my life, trusting my instinct, and I feel like I've come back to doing it now, because I used to do it when I was younger, and then with the sort of whole Love Island thing, you learn not to.
Why?
And then because you just do, like, when I come off the show, it's all well and great, everyone's loving us and I'm getting all these compliments, but I think that you like adapt yourself, because a big part of the industry is being liked, and if you want to be liked, you've got to be like a certain way. And I think I had bad teams around us, or bad people around us, not necessarily my friends and family, but just bad like work environment. And they were kind of like, oh, don't be too sweary, or don't say your opinions as much, or be like a bit softer and blah, blah, blah.
They call it PR training, but you know what I think? I think it's an annihilation of your true self sometimes, because I've had friends of mine in the public eye and they're like, I've had media training and I have to do this and I have to wear these colours and dress like this. And I'm like, I get it, but you're just trying to fit a mould, right?
Yeah.
That's what I
feel
think.
like that was for the old media.
No, they still do it now.
But
they still do the media training now, Amber, right?
But it doesn't relate so well to social.
It doesn't come across as well. Yeah. But I think that part of like the sort of old Love Island management style was that. Yeah. Whereas now I've got new sort of management. I mean, no disrespect to old management. They did their job and they were good, but they had an old mentality. Now I've got a younger management, and they kind of get that they need to let me be who I am, because that's who people like. Yeah. And it's not necessarily about the press or what the Daily Mail says or what the Sun says. Like, nobody's even reading them anymore. It's about what the people on TikTok, whether they want to engage with you, whether they're buying the things that you're promoting, whether they're investing in you, that kind of thing.
Why would someone choose to listen to this? Yeah. Wait. There's so many things they could do. Right? They could watch Succession on TV. They could flick TikTok, right? But there's the reason why they do it is because there's real talk, real questions, real answers, and we've had so little of that on TV, that people crave this.
But I do think, I mean, I'm gonna ask Adam, but I do think that like on a subconscious level though, like the response that we even get from people on social media does also guide us in a way on the way that we communicate with our audiences, and like what we feel like we're censored about saying. Like, we've discussed this before. I think that anyone that has a platform, I might be wrong, does have a deep sense of like, I hope I don't get cancelled, or people like go against me. Like, maybe you're over that, maybe you don't care, but I'm conscious sometimes of like the fact that I say things not to be liked, but I'm not offending someone gravely, intensely, you know, because I recognize, especially with TikTok more than Instagram, as I said, like people could be like, you just said you like pink, why haven't you given green a chance? Green deserves to be seen. Do you know what I mean?
It's like
and it's a lot.
Exhausting.
So I think there's sometimes you're just mindful, like you're yourself, but you're mindful of the way you're putting across your stuff. I don't know, that's something I think about.
I think that I probably was like that on the further end of the scale, to the point where I felt like I wasn't being true to myself. And I think that's when I started to not enjoy what I was doing. Didn't really want to post, was really quiet. Remember, like when we first met, I don't think I was that active on like social media. I'm way more active now because I think I was like trying to put myself in a box. Okay, I have 2 million followers now. I'm going to post the outfit pictures that everybody that else with 2 million followers is posting. I want to do a cute picture with a coffee and put a filter on it and write do you know what I mean? That's what I was trying to do, and I'm like, well, hold on a second, that's not you. You wear flip-flops and Lululemon leggings to Harrods. Like, you're not the same as these people. You're not an aesthetic photo. Like, stop. And I think I got to that point and I was like, it was exhausting. So right now, I get what you're saying. I'm mindful to a degree, but I think in talking to anyone, you're mindful to a degree, and I think that degree has to lessen when you're on social. You have to just not care, because you lose sight of who you are, but then it becomes not enjoyable. You don't enjoy it. And I think the main thing about posting and producing content, you just need to enjoy what you do, because people can tell when you're enjoying yourself.
100%.
And because I just don't believe you can just burn yourself out so easy if you're like, what if I'm offending someone? Like, oh, who cares? Who cares?
I know you have always embraced being your authentic self. So back to Payman's question, what was your lowest point and then your highest point?
Oh God, there was several lowest points, but I think the lowest of the low was I had like this launch party when I did a fashion collaboration, and I got super drunk. So everyone was buying me drinks and stuff, and someone posted a story where I look a bit. It doesn't look good. It didn't look good.
We've all had those moments.
It didn't look good. I mean, I wasn't as bad as how I looked. I definitely wasn't that drunk. My family were there. I wasn't that bad. But this video just caught us looking crazy.
And someone posted it.
That was posted, and it got picked up on so fast. It was all over Twitter. She should be cancelled. She's taking drugs in the club, and it's crazy. And decline the fashion collab, you know, revoke the money from Love Island, like everything. It was horrendous. It was horrendous. And I think if that happened to us now, it would be completely different. But I think at the time, I wasn't sort of in a proper therapy, probably didn't have a good circle. I was quite someone that liked to deal with things on their own. And so I sat by myself and I was just trying to deal with it on my own, and I couldn't. It was just so difficult.
Dark thoughts.
Oh my God, it was horrendous. Like, it was just so bad. And my management were like, just sit tight and it'll blow over. And I'm like, but it doesn't feel like that for me right now.
Yeah.
I can't sit tight because what about the now?
Yeah.
You know, it's fine in 2 weeks, might laugh about it. But right now, I'm in hell. Like, I don't want to go out. Don't want to go out in case someone sees us and they're like, she's the one that was on drugs or whatever. I just wanted to stay in the house, not talk to anyone, sit in a dark room and do nothing for the longest amount of time. It was horrendous.
Have you ever had suicidal thoughts?
Yeah. Like in those points, yeah.
Yeah.
I think prior to that, probably not. But I think, you know, it's easy on the outside looking in. So back before I had followers, I'd be like, why is anyone that's got 2 million followers upset? They need to get grip.
Yeah.
Why is anyone that's got money upset? They need to like think about their priorities.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh no, fuck, like it happens, like it does happen. And so those are the times where I really felt like that. It was awful.
So were there thousands of comments?
Like hundreds of thousands, yeah.
And so the accumulation of those was getting to you.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Is that like it's easy to look and think everything's fine. Like, what? You're bothered by a couple of comments. It's not a couple. You know, everyone's dealt with negative comments, but when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands, it's a different. Unless you've experienced, you can never understand what it's like when people are piling on top of you. You can never understand.
I think we've failed as a society. Like, look at even what was hitting the news. Like, I literally couldn't care less really about the royals. Like, it's not for me. But like the Kate Middleton thing, like the way that the media was speculating and like bullying, and then she's like forced to come out and be like, oh, I have cancer. I felt for her, right? Like, you know, to have that like kind of like public scrutiny. And I think we have failed, and I think that we're not getting any better. Like, we're not getting better as a society. Like we keep saying, like, be kind when someone's killed themselves. Caroline Flack, you know, is like perfect example. And I just find that really heartbreaking. It's always like, in hindsight, oh, be kind. I mean, in the dental arena, like, dental trolls are the worst. There's like forums of like dentists like slating other dentists and stuff. And I just find it so crazy. But like you said, people be like, well, you have followers, you have this, you have that. There's nothing to be upset about. And it's like, actually, the pressure becomes more, you know, and I think, like, you know, we should definitely have more empathy for that.
You know, illness doesn't really discriminate between rich people, poor people, you know.
Mental health illness, physical illness, all of them.
Yeah, like toothache for a billionaire is just as bad as toothache for someone who hasn't got a job and is unemployed or whatever, yeah? Still toothache. Yeah, but we don't recognise that in the mental space.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the mental space, it's just as bad or worse. If you've got a great life and suddenly this happens, you're losing everything in the meantime.
Yeah.
What was the up point? What was the most exciting? What was it sort of where you had to take a moment and say, wow.
Oh my God, so many highs. There's so many highs and so many lows of like what I've done. But like, it was just sort of, having like money was nice. Like having freedom to do what I wanted to do or buy what I wanted to buy was crazy. I was like, I remember one time my accountant said to us, are you sure you don't want to spend more money? I was like, what do you mean? If your accountant's telling you that you should spend more money, you can definitely spend more money. Because I was just like, I didn't know what to do. I'd buy one bag and I'd be like, oh my God, it's crazy.
So there's the levels of financial, there's the don't have to worry about your bills anymore. Yeah, that's like a really important moment, right?
Yeah.
Because I remember having to worry about bills. Yeah, electricity bill, water bill. God, pay the bills.
Yeah.
Then that goes away. Then there's a next level where, I don't know, you go to any restaurant, order anything on the menu, and not look at the price.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. Then there's the next level that you go on any holiday and take any flight,
look after your friends,
stay in any
sometimes.
hotel, but it does wear away, is what I'm saying. Like, okay, like it doesn't go much further than that.
No, it doesn't. But I think I went from here to here in the space of 2 seconds. Because I was like, oh my God, the bills, the food, I can have champagne, I can do whatever. Like, it was crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just, I think that.
And also giving to your family, right? Because you paid for your mum's teeth.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, like as an Amber paid, her mum had a full.
That must be the best feeling.
Yeah, like amazing. Like giving back to your mum that, and like in that way, I always think like if you can pay something medical for your parents, that's huge. You know?
I always like to do certain things. I always feel like I never do enough for them though. I always feel like I just want to do even more stuff. But yeah, that's definitely like an amazing feeling, because she was having such a annoying time, and I was like, do you know what? I'll take you to my girl. She'll sort you out, and that's such a nice feeling.
Yeah, and it was amazing.
It was a really nice feeling. But as well, I will say, like the holidays, the opportunities are crazy. I was getting paid. I remember I did a deal where they flew me to Tobago to do all excursions to promote a competition where you won the trip. So I did everything. I know, how crazy is that? And like I got paid to like
go on holiday.
Yeah, to snorkel.
Yeah.
And it was like all I had to do was like snorkel and look cute. Yeah. And then I was done.
Yeah,
and I got to take one of my family members with us there. I took my cousin with us, and we were like, this is crazy. Like, what is going on? People have paid me to come here, and you were like, come with me. We flew business class. I think it's the best fucking decision I've ever made in my life to answer that DM. It was the best thing ever.
So on the way up, obviously, you make friends, and then you've got to be wary of people. And, me and you have had this conversation before. Did you find it difficult, or did you trust your intuition with like people that you met on the way? Because I'm sure a lot of people wanted to be friends with you, right? And they didn't necessarily want to be friends with you because of who you are, but also like, as in like the soul of who you are, but they also wanted the stuff that comes with it. We've discussed this before. So did you find it hard meeting people that you knew like had your genuine like best interests at heart?
No, I don't find that hard, because I don't think I'm an easy person to make friends with.
Okay.
Like I'm not very... No, I'm an easy person to make acquaintances with. Like I can be friendly, I can go to events, I can talk to people, but I think to get really close to us, I struggle with that with people in general. So I don't think that anyone that has the intention of being friends with me would expect anything, because I wouldn't give them anything anyway. Like I'm not very like, oh yeah, all my friends come together. I'm just not like that.
Yeah, fine.
I've always had quite like a small circle, and I've always liked to deal with things on my own, so I didn't even tell anyone about stuff that was going on. So I've never really had that problem, and I think people were a bit, they knew that about me as well. So I think people avoid us. If they're looking for a friend that's going to give them something, I don't think people would look at me. I think they would look at someone else. So I don't think I've ever really had that issue.
Would you say,
which is quite fortunate, to be honest, because I think it's a big thing in the industry, isn't it?
Would you say you're an introvert or an extrovert?
Both at the same time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah. I think with me, and I think with everyone, I think I'm not someone that you can put in a box. I can sit here and talk to you for hours on end about anything. I can also sit in the house and I don't want to go out. I can go and party till 11 a.m. if I want to. I can sit in the house and read a book by myself. Like, I'm not one thing or anything. I'm not an introvert or an extrovert. I can be both.
Do you think that's because you love yourself? Not in like a way of like in terms of like ego, but as in like you know who you are and you respect your own boundaries, and you like I know who I am, and like I'm saying it in the affectionate way, because often I'm like, I don't think I love myself because I do things that aren't authentically aligned with what I want to do. Do you see what I mean? Because I'm worried about trying to make everyone else happy. So, but what I'm hearing is that you do things to make you happy when it suits you.
Yeah. I don't know if that's loving yourself, because I think I do sometimes and I don't sometimes.
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm being wishy-washy, but it's just true, isn't it? It's the truth of life. Sometimes you do love yourself, sometimes you don't. But again, probably come from very early. I've always liked to do what I want.
Yeah.
Because I've got, and I don't know if this is with the ADHD, apparently it is, a very strong sense of like justice and doing the right thing.
Yeah.
So I've always felt very strongly that whatever I'm doing, I'm probably doing the right thing, or I'm being a good person. So I don't need to worry about, is this person happy, is that person happy? Because I feel like I'm doing...
Your intention is...
Yeah, my intention's always good.
It's really interesting. So you've mentioned ADHD. I definitely think I have it. So many of my friends think I have it. Maybe even you do. Like everyone's like, you have it. Like Prav thinks I have it. Everyone thinks I have it. To Prav tell you, I got told off at dinner by Yorgos, my partner, because I can't, like, my brain's just like, I can multitask. I've like got like classic symptoms. But let's talk about how you got diagnosed.
So I can't remember exactly what happened, but I just, you know, when I came off the show, like I was saying, I couldn't post with the coffee cups and I couldn't do anything properly. I wasn't doing it to the best of my ability. I just knew. I was sort of doing it and I was enjoying it. Freedom, holidays, everything is great. But I was just like, am I doing the best job? No, I don't feel like I am, but I don't know why. I want to post things on time. I want to post 6 posts a week. I want to post once a week on YouTube. I had all these big aspirations and I could never do it. And it wasn't like time constraint. It was just like me. It was me blocking myself, and I knew that. And I think a couple of years later, I sort of connected the dots. I was like, actually, I'm my worst enemy. I'm my own worst enemy. Yeah. I'm my own worst enemy. And so I need to figure out what's going on. And I did loads of research on ADHD, and I was like, that sounds a bit like me. Didn't think anything of it because I was just like, I don't need to get diagnosed. It's not changing my life. I don't think it's going to change my life. And then progressively, I was like, do you know what? No, I feel like I could do better. I feel like I procrastinate. I feel like in relationships, it shows up in friendships and everything. I'm too scattered. I'm not focused on one thing. So I'm probably not doing the best at what I need to be doing. So then in 2022, I think, went to a private clinic and got diagnosed. She was like, yeah. You've definitely
Did they make you do a written test or both, like verbal and written?
Verbal.
Okay.
It was all verbal. Mm-hmm. I think, well, it might have been 2021 because I don't know if it was verbal because it was like COVID
times.
Yeah, I feel
so
like it might have been COVID times. Yeah, it was So I had to do a big long hour and a half with the woman, and she was like, yep, you've definitely had it. And then everything was like, wow, I feel like I could have done better in school. I feel like I could have just thrived a lot more in life. Looking back on this type of questions that she asked, I was like, oh yeah, like, probably could have done better in grades. I might have went to uni. I mean, I got offered, but that was just not on my sights because I was just chaos. And then I had the whole meltdown about medication because I didn't really want to be on medication.
So did they recommend medication at the time or not?
It's not recommended. It's kind of based on what you want, you know, because in itself, just getting diagnosed is a very big thing. And it doesn't sound like it because like, oh, I've been diagnosed, but you're suddenly more receptive of yourself, like subconsciously. You're like, okay, I feel like this is because of this, so I'm either going to do this or this kind of thing.
So was the feeling a feeling of you missed out on stuff in your life because you were like this, or was the feeling a feeling of finally, like, it wasn't my fault, it wasn't, you know, like
it both at the same time. So I think at first it was like, I think I cried on the call, to be honest. I cried on the call because I was like, it's like it's such a strange feeling. It's both at the exact same time. It's like, oh my god, I understand now why I was getting told off so much in school and I was not paying attention. I was chaos and I couldn't just focus and do an exam or revise or do what I needed to do. And that's really sad because I'm like, oh, that little Amber didn't know what was going on. She was just trying to do her best and she didn't know that she had ADHD, and that's sad. But then also it's like, oh my god, now I know the future is going to be fantastic because I think when you come to an understanding of something, you just have so much power over it. I had no power over it before. I had no power.
That resonates.
This is the whole thing, because like I've always known that like I'm a different child, I'm a different person, like I just am. And there's certain parts of me, like you said, like the deep empathy, the real sense of like wrong or right, like the moral compass and stuff like that. I've had it always since I was like a child, but my concentration is terrible. Like, you know what I'm like, I can have like a million conversations at once. I have to multitask to concentrate, and that's why dentistry is actually really good for my brain, because I have to be focused on the physical in that time, you know, so it keeps me actually focused. And that's like, I'm so lucky I'm a dentist, because doing stuff like requires like being on laptop or like doing stuff on your phone, I get distracted and I end up doing like a million apps at a time and not finishing one job properly. And I think, like you said, like if people utilize different types of brains in different ways, because at school I was told I was really stupid. I told I was never going to get into dental school, and like I just had this sense of like, I'm going to prove you all wrong. I didn't really get a job after that. Like, you know, I had to start my own practice when everyone else was like getting jobs everywhere else, because all these different things, like people didn't basically believe in me. And like, you know, they say now, if you know someone has autism, Asperger's, that you can actually put them like in jobs that make them like really efficient if you understand the way they work. Like, you know, they once showed someone with
their genius.
Use their genius. Like they put someone that had Asperger's that never had a job in like a shop, supermarket, and the organization of the aisles was like crazy because they use their brain in a way that like they can actually function rather than making them fit into a box. You know,
well, they say something about judge a fish by its ability to swim, not climbing a tree.
I love that. I really love that.
No, I totally like resonate with that, because in school I just I couldn't do it.
So other than now the guilt of it's kind of gone, like I don't know if procrastination is one of your problems, but let's hit now you haven't got guilt over it. Have you now got ways of dealing with ADHD?
Yeah, I think because I don't know if it's very predominant in women, but shame, it feels like everything feels very shameful, because it just, you know, if you know, I'm looking on Instagram and people are doing all these deals, and I'm sat on the sofa for hours and I can't kick my brain into gear to do the things that I need to do. There's a lot of shame. It's like, it's your fault. Why are you like this? Just go and do it. And it makes everything worse when you talk to yourself like that. It doesn't make anything better. So you sit for longer and it's just a spiral of like getting worse. So when the sort of shame lifts, it's like, okay, maybe I'll sit on the sofa for an hour now, and then I'll take one thing off, and then I'll do this. And you sort of kinder to yourself, and then slowly you start to have 25 things in the day and it's not bothering you, but you also don't have that little voice in your head that's like, you need to do this and you need to be productive and you need to. So if you get to a point where you're like, actually, I kind of feel a bit strange, you can have a break and be like, no, this is why I'm having a break, and then continue.
One thing I wanted to ask you was, did you feel that you wanted to take medication?
It was a bit of a funny one. I think being from Newcastle, you just get on with life and you don't really talk about problems. Very Caribbean as well, actually. You don't really talk about problems. You don't take medication unless you've broke your leg. You can have painkillers, but you don't take medication for things that don't exist just in your brain. And so, although if my friend came to me and said, I want to take medication for ADHD, I would say, go for it. Yeah, whatever makes you feel better. Because I don't really adopt that mentality. Your subconscious, that's what's been programmed. So I felt like that. I felt really strange about it. Why do I need to take medication? What? Because you sit on the sofa for hours. You don't need to take medication for that. It's ridiculous. Get up off your ass and do what you need to do, kind of thing. And then it was, whilst I was in a relationship, it becomes really obvious to the person that I'm with. Because I think on the face of it, a lot of people wouldn't think I've got ADHD because I've got more inattentive ADHD than hyperactive, because I'm not a hyperactive person at all. But my brain is the most hyperactive thing. But when you're so close to someone and you're in a relationship and you're living together, they sort of notice the little things that you struggle with. So say I'm going on holiday or I'm going on a trip for work and I've got my suitcase out. It'll take me 24 hours to do the case and I'm having a meltdown about it because I can't, my brain, like distraction. I'm going to get my electric toothbrush. I notice a spot on the mirror that's a bit dirty. I want to clean the mirror. And then, the shower's a bit dirty and I'm cleaning the shower. And it's like, no, I was packing the suitcase. And so it just becomes like...
And then your brain gets so like...
Yeah, because it's like, what the hell am I even doing?
Yeah.
And then it was, my partner at the time was like, nah, like just try medication because I don't want to see you like, you struggle a lot.
So then...
And I got a shock. I was like, what do you mean I struggle a lot? I'm fine. I was like, no, maybe she's right. Like I need to...
So did you take the medication?
Yeah.
And?
Great, yeah.
It
really
helps.
good, really good. Did a titration period, so started on like a lower dosage and then sort of assessed where I was with that. Higher. I'm still in the titration period now because I'm still indecisive. I can't decide which dose is better for me. But from the beginning it was noticeable. The difference was noticeable. I was handling things better. I could, reply to emails and do admin and not be so caught up in my feelings, and just everything got better.
What did you take?
What did I?
Was it Ritalin?
No, not Ritalin. It's a Concerta.
Okay, fine.
I'm on Concerta. Yeah, I heard bad things about Ritalin, so I didn't do Ritalin.
And if you want to go off it, is that an option? Like, as in, like, do the doctors say, or do you have to, again, like, you know, with like antidepressants, you have to be weaned off, like, because if you go off completely, like, it's really dangerous.
No, I don't think that's the case for ADHD. I don't think that's the case. I'm not entirely sure, but I don't think that's the case. I think if it was the case, I would know, because they'd be like, don't stop taking it. You need to not stop taking it.
And are there any side effects?
Yeah.
There's a list of side effects. So the only one that I find when I take a higher dosage, so I try not to take, well, I'm not on a higher dosage, loss of appetite and insomnia are my two biggest ones. And so I end up going on lower dosage because I don't want to, you know, lose my appetite, obviously, and I want to be able to sleep.
Yeah.
So that's that's like part of the titration period. If you notice you're starting to get the side effects, bring it back down again.
But you know what, there is like such a stigma still around it. I was thinking, because all my friends joke, and all of my psychotherapist friends are like, you definitely have ADHD, you definitely have it, you definitely have it. And then I said to my partner, I was like, I think I'm going to get tested just to see if I have it. And he was like, well, you're not taking medication. And I was like, I just want to get tested. But like, I feel like because like he's like also like of that old school mentality, like you said, where he's like, medication like means there's something wrong. And I'm like, there is just such a stigma to it. And I think people think that you can really like control every element of your brain, whereas I think that you need to recognize medication can behave as a band-aid, but sometimes a band-aid is necessary to get better or to help you do the things that you need to do. It's the same with antidepressants, right? You know, a friend of mine, she'd had avoided antidepressants for a really, really long time. And there were days where she literally couldn't get out of bed because she was so depressed, and she'd just spend all day crying. Her boyfriend convinced her to go on antidepressants because he was really like au fait with it. And she said to me, I saw her last week, she goes, it's life-changing. She's like, I know it's a band-aid because I know I need to sort out the root cause of my depression. She's like, but now I can function in the day and I can do stuff. And I think like that just like really sort of stuck with me.
Yeah, I think that probably antidepressants can be looked on as a band-aid, but for ADHD medication, I like to think of it as more like a balance, like I'm being balanced.
So
my brain is
take
being
it for the rest of your life, or?
I haven't come to like a decision on that. I'll make the decision.
What's the doctor saying? Is he saying that's the kind of thing?
You can if you decide, if you decide to, you can. But I've been off it for a week before, and I've been fine. So it's not something that I'm like particularly worried about. But I think with medication stigma, like, why would we not, like, the way that the world is, why would we not want people to be harmonious in their life? Like, I want people to be harmonious. Like, I don't want people to be crying in the middle of Selfridges because they don't want to take medication. Like, I want everyone to be happy. I don't want to see people having breakdowns. I want everyone to be on a nice level and have balance. So if you feel in a type of way, take the thing.
Yeah, I think there's a feeling that doctors are overprescribing these things. Yeah, like,
I think more so in America. I think more so.
I have that, you know, the stigma you're talking about. I have that stigma when a friend's kid, they're putting them on medication for ADHD. I kind of like, oh, don't give the kid drugs, you know.
Yeah.
And even that might be probably incorrect, right? But I do have that feeling for a child, you know, giving and this feeling of overprescription. Yeah.
Yeah, but I just want to say, I'm going to throw a spanner into the work, because whilst both of you are speaking, the thing that strikes me the most is like, we are inherently describing a problem within society, because society is phones and social media and all this stuff is making a child more towards their ADHD tendencies. Somebody having a breakdown in Selfridges because of whatever reason is probably because of like their environmental or societal impact. And I think like that is such a hard thing, because it is kind of like without your control. And I hear what you're saying, but like people now need to survive in this world that we've created, and it's not necessarily a harmonious, happy world we have created around us.
You used to have it when you were 9 years old, when there weren't any social media.
No, actually, in hindsight, like, look, I always think I was different as a child. Like Amber said, like I think I was different, but I think like the ability to like go out and play like in the grass and like be in like a different sort of environment is somewhat, you know, like help me, you know, keep me on that keep me on that like level of being happier than unhappier.
I do think it's a societal thing, and I think the way that, exactly what you're saying, the way that we've built things up, it probably is overprescribed. I think both things are true, but I think it's a big issue. I think for me, regardless, because, you know, I was struggling pre-social media age. I think I'd be on medication, like, no matter. But for a lot of people, and especially children as well, I think that it's something that could be, you know, if we're got out in the sun more, because I hate, you know, I do hate when doctors like, have you had a cup of tea, have you had a bath, have you exercised? And it's like, piss off, like, yeah, I have, it's not working. But if we actually did more of those things that we need to do in order to be a well-functioning human being, it would lessen 100%. But people don't want to do that.
But you know what's like, it's really like upsetting, because in a way I know that when I wake up in the morning, if the first thing I grab is my phone, of course my anxiety is going to get worse, because I'm going to get like an email from work, or like a disgruntled colleague, or like a comment on social media, but I still reach out for my phone. And like my partner's like, don't do that. He's like, literally have like the first 20 minutes without looking at your phone at all. Like go wash your face, like brush your teeth. So hard. Exactly.
What app do you go to?
No, actually WhatsApp, because I check work stuff. You
need to stop that.
And you need to stop that.
Yeah,
but also
it's good not to. It's really good not to. I mean, I still grab my phone. I try not to for a little while, but I still grab my phone. But the app that I open's Headspace.
Yeah, I love that. I actually downloaded Headway as well. I don't know if you've heard of Headway.
I have heard of it.
So Headway, you put down like what things you're interested in.
Do you sleep with your phone next to you?
No, I'm not allowed to now. I have to put it in the room next door.
Yeah, so that's a good idea.
Yeah, and that's really good. And but the thing is,
so how's the first thing that you grab your phone?
So I go to the room next door and I grab my phone.
No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, no.
But I'll tell you what it is though. Like my happiest place, I think I saw you just after I got back from Costa Rica,
right?
And I think, you know, we had a drink at the Electric, I think you remember, and Amber reached out because she was like, I saw you really sad on social media and stuff, and I was like, look, I've like had a really tough time, and I just come back off this retreat, and like the retreat for me was like being in a jungle and being with what I believe humanity is about. Like it's a group of people that create a retreat, but they live in this retreat, and they're people that create it, they're like just like us, and they're like, do you know what, fuck it, I'm leaving this life behind. And they create a community, and then like they do things that you know are good, like they live with nature, they live with animals, they don't really have phones, etc. They cultivate things, they grow their like food and they cook it together, they do breath work, do you see me, they do community activities, they can like go out and work with the local community, and like like sure, I'm sure they have like internal problems, but I'm like, they're going back to like the basic roots of why we're put on this earth, and it's like connection, community, like that's I think what's so important. It's been left behind.
We're so far removed from that, and it scares me, because I think how we're so far away from what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
What do you mean a mortgage? We're supposed to pick fruit off trees and just walk around and be happy.
Yeah.
And we've got bills. Like what? Who decided that? Like why? I don't get it. I hate it.
Me too.
But this is why I do things like Kilimanjaro. I just got back from Kilimanjaro 2 weeks ago. And I always do those things because I think it's just nice to remove yourself. Like London's a different, it's just, London's crazy. Like as much as I love it, you're just so far removed from like the essence, I think, of what humanity is. And I think when you do things like Kilimanjaro, you reconnect with it, you know, because they're sort of, you know, the way that the locals love that mountain, because it obviously brings them money and everything. The way that they look after the whole place is just, you respect it so much, because people don't respect it here. Like the Serengeti, I did a safari in the Serengeti. The way that the people respect the animals as well, they respect them so much. You know, they won't bother you if you won't bother them. We'll live amongst them, and it's harmonious. And
we don't even respect each other in London. Like people don't even respect each other, let alone like, I mean, we don't, you know, let alone like nature and our environment and things like that. And I think like that's been such a disconnect, and maybe that is like
it's a huge disconnect.
Like, you know, ADHD people I think probably are more affected, and like I get really emotional about things like of the environment and animals and things like that, you know, because I just feel like such a disconnect, because I'm like this, I feel like everything is like one in sort of like
Kilimanjaro.
I think I will. And
it's
like
really
we
good.
do, because I've climbed like the volcano in like Guatemala, and I've done like all these different, like I love trekking, and I've done all these different things like Machu Picchu in Peru, because I feel like I'm so much more connected. And like you said, there's something like about our ancestors, you know, that really makes you feel like, you know, that kind of closeness. Do you feel now that you are living in alignment with your true authentic self?
Yes and no. Because again, mortgage. I can't get on board with it. Why? Why to do that? I don't want that. I don't want it.
But you don't have to do it.
No, you don't have to. But I want to, I still want to. This is the problem. It's like, it's a big circle. I also want to have a good time. I'm not going to, sit and be like, woo, in the field with nothing.
Yeah.
So I have to get on board with the rat race.
Yeah.
I have to, because I want to have a good life.
Yeah.
I like flying business class. I do like that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to make money. I'm going to have a mortgage. So I have to be part of it. But I don't feel like that's an alignment with my true self.
Me too.
But in order to be in alignment, you probably do have to have a level of freedom as well. So you need to be part of that in order to be part of your authentic self. Because, if I want to take a day off, people can't take a day off. If I want to take a day off and go on a retreat, I can't do that.
Yeah, I know.
But because I'm part of that, I can do that. Yeah. So it's a big circle of like
viciousness.
Yeah, I kind of win. So if you can't beat them, join them.
What do you do now? What do you daily have to do? Is it
come on podcasts?
Brand deals, presenting. What is it?
Yeah, so like brand ambassadorships. Yeah. So that means that I turn up to events, I go on brand trips, I post content for them, like using their products, promoting their products. I've written my first book.
Amazing.
That came out in 2022. Second book is coming out.
Second book?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, got signed again. They signed us for another one. Yeah,
amazing. And what's the content?
It's romance novels. So whilst I was in school.
Oh my God.
Yeah, well, it was so. Did you not know this? Oh my God, you need one.
Yeah, can I get a signed copy?
One. Yeah, you both can have one if
you want.
Do
you use a ghostwriter?
So. No, we don't call it a ghostwriter, we call it a co-author, because when I went into the HarperCollins offices, they're my publisher, when I went into their offices, I was like, this sounds like a big job, and when you've got a platform, you've got to do things right. I can't be doing, writing just willy-nilly whatever I want. It's got to be a good thing that people want to buy and love to read, and I don't know if I can do that. It sounds too scary for me. I was always interested in English. I was going to do English at uni. For my A-levels, I did both English literature and English language. So it was always a sector that I was like obsessed with. Yeah. But I never thought I was good enough to write something. And so they were like, no, don't worry. We'll try to match you with a co-author so that you've got a sort of handhold and someone that is published several times so that they know what they're doing. They know how things should sound, what would work, what's not going to work. And you can sort of work collaboratively. So it's not like I go, yeah, just write whatever you want. And I'll go, this is my book. Get it? It's because it's got my name on it. It's not like that. It's way more like I'm very much in the process as well. I'm there with them. But it's just I needed that because can you imagine I've got 2 million people and if it's bad,
yeah,
I'm not sitting in my room in the dark again. So she better help me make sure it's good, because I'm not doing that again. I'm not. It's got to be a hit. It's got to be a bestseller.
My question for you as well is that knowing what you know now and living through what you have lived through with Love Island, would you do it again?
Do it in what context?
I think
seems like would you do Love Island again?
Like in what context?
If you were the beauty therapist
if you were the 100%.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Okay, but
if you ask me if I would do it again
now I don't think you would. No, because a lot of people, exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of people went back. There was like a reunion type sort of show, and then I think that's because you've become such a figure in your own right. You don't need to. Does that make sense? Like I feel like the people that went back in perhaps felt that was so intrinsically tied to their success, they needed that boost again. Do you know what I mean? I think that's a very dangerous path because you're linking your identity to something that's out of your control in a way, because you're like, I have to go on to get that boost again.
I think some people wanted a redemption as well.
Yeah.
Some people feel cheated by an edit or they didn't last as long as they thought they should have. People didn't have, public opinion wasn't great, and so they're going again to see if they can
change the narrative.
Yeah.
Did you find the edit was sometimes misleading?
No.
No.
I think people use that as an excuse.
Really?
I do. Now I can see, because I've got a show out at the minute that's on E4.
Yes, and it's with a load of very well-known people too.
What is it? What's it called?
It's called Josh Must Win. It's chaos. If you're not into reality TV, I don't know if this is the first
thing. I like
thing.
reality.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
So this is crazy. There's basically a guy called Josh, and he's an underdog, so not the type of people that you would see on Love Island, and it's like a social experiment to see if we could make him win the show. And me and 3 other people on a panel are trying to make it so he wins. So yeah,
do you coach him?
No, he doesn't know. We've got to do things behind this as if we're producers. Know. So we're like producers of Love Island, putting everything a certain way so that he looks really good.
It's and like so a that Truman he wins. Show.
Yeah, it is like a Truman. It's exactly like that. So that's on at the minute, and I can sort of see with that. It's doing really well. Everyone's obsessed with it. Oh, so the first 3 episodes are out on streaming platforms already, and then I think there's 8 or 12. I think there's 8 episodes altogether. So yeah, it's only 3 in. So we're not far. So you've got time to catch up. Yeah. It's really fun. It is funny.
But Amber, you've done loads because I think like what I think is fascinating about you is like clearly the media know that you're special because you've been asked to do loads of other TV stuff because you and Kem did something on mental health, remember?
Yeah.
So Kem was another winner one other year. So they did a whole thing on mental health, which was amazing.
Yeah, it was really
I watched that. You've got this now, which I think is great because I feel like your TV opportunities are still there.
Yeah. And I don't take everything as well. You know, I've been asked to do the sort of Celebs Go Dating and Ex on the Beach, and it's just never really been my thing. I think me on Celebs Go Dating would be great television because I'm terrible at dating, but I don't want to do it. I just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of the edit, so like editing of shows and stuff, I can see with that show how certain things are clipped together. I don't think that it's not a good representation of what's happening. It still is. But like, because this shows 2 houses together, so we're seeing the house that Josh is in and where I am and how it's being clipped together, I can sort of see how the editing's done in a certain way. But I still think it's exactly what I said. And I think with Love Island, everything that I said was what I said, and I don't think anything was misleading. I know I can't speak for everyone. But
context is important. That's the one thing I'll disagree with you on, because context is important, you know. It's like if you say like, I don't know, like, Rhona didn't look good in that dress. I just think that she's like, you know, got a beautiful body, but she like looks better in like a black dress. But then they edit it to say, I don't think Rhona looks good in the dress. It's like, it's the context. Do you see what I mean? As in like, it's the sentence you said it in. So I think that maybe, I'm guessing, I might be wrong, it's like they will cut out bits that actually like form the whole sentence.
I think to a degree, but I think the show would look really disjointed if that was happening every single time. So I think when people say that, they are being over the top.
Well,
you know,
there is another thing. Your energy is just so like good. Yeah.
But energetic.
No, it's just goodness comes out. It's just obvious. You know, you're thoughtful. But not everyone's energy is that.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And some people will say things that are not necessarily coming from the, like you were saying,
from the heart.
Not coming from the right place.
Yeah.
And then it's easy to edit those people into even a worse
story.
So did you think other people were
misrepresented? No. Although I've got good energy, I do say bad things a lot of the time. I say a lot of bad things. You know, I called someone a knob on the show.
That's not bad.
She was being a knob though. Like, you know, we're friends now, but she was being a knob at the time, and that's what I said. Yeah. But I said to some guy, because it's actually really interesting, I wasn't well liked in the beginning of the show.
Really?
Yeah. So I think if anyone can talk about an edit, I really can talk about an edit, because at the beginning, I was not liked at all because, you know, I say what I want. I probably say things that are a bit on the nose for some people. You know, I was 21 and this guy came in and he was 28. I said, oh, that's a bit old, isn't it? Like, because for me, it was 7 years older than me. That's a bit old for me. Like, I've never dated him. But I said that and everyone's like, how dare she say that he's old? It's crazy. And then he said, do I suit these sunglasses? And the shape wasn't right for his face. I didn't think so. And I said, I don't think that you do suit the sunglasses. And everyone was up in arms about that. I'm like, what, did you want us to lie? Like, he didn't suit the sunglasses. And I was like, oh, I think I've got the type of face that suits all sunglasses. And everyone's like, oh, she loves herself, she thinks she's great. I'm like, no, I just have a face that suits all types of sunglasses. But yeah, so I do get the whole editing thing, because in those situations, I'm probably quite like a dry person, and I was like, God, you're old, and then I laughed after, but they didn't put the laugh in, so everyone probably thought I was a bit of a dick. But I think it's funnier that they didn't put the laugh in, because how funny is that someone just went, God, you're old.
But I love it. But I just love it, because I just feel like, and that's why people love you so much, is because you do keep it real, and like you just know who you are. Like you say it with like such like confidence. Do you know what I mean?
I think it's super impressive 5 years after a reality show to still be relevant.
Exactly.
Yeah, because often it's a blip, isn't it? And then it's
and that's why some people
some people say I'm not though. Some people say I fell off.
The question is this, right? Have you thought that you need to do something like a business, something that isn't related to your fame on TV, that, you know, to give it longevity, to give this, for want of a better sentence, business class flights.
Right. Yeah, that's what we want.
Longevity.
Yeah.
But you're making good business decisions now, like buying a house. You know, it's an investment. Do you see what I mean?
No,
Long
I've
term.
got
So like buying a house.
Yeah, so I've got a property company.
Oh, do you?
Amazing.
Yeah. So I like to buy new builds or off-plan new builds. Either sell them and, you know, because when they're on completion, they make more money, or lease them out. So that's one thing that's there. I do investments as well. I've got like an investment, not crypto.
Yeah.
No, I can't get my head around it. I can't.
Me too. ADHD
I don't
brain.
understand.
Yeah, me too.
But I need to understand the
NFTs
details.
and all that stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
what is
do
this?
you mean?
No, my head hurts.
It doesn't make sense to me, so I just can't. I have to understand it to get on board, and I just don't get that. So I do those types of things. But in terms of a business, it's something that I'm thinking about now, because I think in the beginning, you know, it probably would have been a better idea to do it when I first came off the show, because God, I could have made a shit ton of money. I could have made loads, but that wasn't the right thing for me then, and I don't think I would have done a good job.
21.
Yeah, some people did do that and they've made loads of money, and I'm happy for them, but I don't think that was the right time for me at all. I think I needed to survive.
Rhona, before you used to represent a bunch of toothpaste companies. You did a lot of work for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at one point she decided, well, why don't I just do my own?
Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, fingers crossed. So that it's a bit like that, isn't it? It's
Yeah.
You could have done your own line of something.
Yeah, you could, but I think that's something that I'm looking into now. So one of my really big interests is swimwear, and it's because I think that there's a gap, because they're either £200, you can't go in the sea with them, you wear them once and they're a different colour, they're really poor fabric, just everything's not good. You know, we buy bikinis for £8 or £200, there's nothing in the middle that's good quality. So I really want to do that, but that's more like a passion project than like cash cow, what can I make the most money from? That's more like, no, I think that this is a good idea and this is what I want. So I'm going to make it small and hopefully make it bigger in the future if it works. But I don't think that was the right thing for me then. A lot of people did. They brought out, you know, sort of makeup palettes or fake tan or...
But you've got to do things that are aligned with you. I think, was it you, Payman, that told me about Matthew McConaughey's story? Is it? So Matthew McConaughey said as well that like one time he got given a movie script and he was so done with like doing rom-coms, because he'd always been put in this like rom-com box, you know, with like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days and stuff, and he knew that he was an incredible actor, but no one was giving him the chance, and the money was really good in rom-coms. So someone like gave him a script and they like offered him millions of dollars, and he was like no, and they like doubled it and they were like, now will you do it? And he was like no. And then he was just like, the thing is that they couldn't buy me, and he turned it down because he knew like the more and more he did these roles, and you know, he was asked like, did you regret it? And he just said like, look, I didn't regret it. And at the end of the day, then he ended up doing roles that were more aligned to what he wanted to do with, and he got paid less, but he eventually got built up. And the point is like a lot of people, and especially people that come out of Love Island, I'll see them promote some like flipping £2 air freshener, like, you know what I mean, like collab deal. And I'm like, is this really aligned with who you are? And then people start to question it, like on now you're like under scrutiny. People are like, but why are you actually promoting this? Do you actually believe in it? And I think like you've been really good, and like you said, you could have done all the stuff, the fake tan and everything, but you knew it wasn't aligned with who you are.
Yeah, and I just don't think I was equipped to build a business at that age. I wasn't, and I know I could have, you know, had everyone do everything for me, but I when I do things, I like to do things myself. I don't want everyone to do everything around us. And so that just wasn't the right thing. But in terms of the car air fresheners, could never be me, and I never did that. But I did make some mistakes where I think, well, why did I do that? Why did I do that? But I also think everything in life is like you just learn yourself.
100%.
You know, you learn. You make that mistake, and then now you know.
You're still so young.
Yeah, exactly.
I know, even though you think 26 is old now.
Yeah.
No,
I know that. I'm joking. Yeah.
I feel like when I was 21, I thought I was so old. Now I'm 26, I feel so young. I'm like, God, I'm so young. There's plenty of time to do like whatever I want to do. And so, yeah,
there is. And I think the world is your oyster. Well, I'm like so happy and so inspired having you on here, Amber. I think you're really such an incredible woman. And like, I really appreciate you coming on, and just to show you as well, like, no matter how big or small your audience is, Amber always shows up, you know, and to like even today, you know, I know a lot of people are going to be so excited, and it's like a smaller audience, but they're going to absolutely love listening to you. So thank you so much. And we look forward to the second book, signed copies.
Yeah, you can have the first book signed copies as well.
Love it. Okay.
I'm the author.
So like a compliment to both of you. Beautiful smile as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay,
Thank you.
Bye.